Hello and welcome to the review video where I will be presenting my OHUHU Honolulu B set of 216 alcohol markers. And first, I have to say I really like the packaging. The big bag is really convenient. So let's unzip the bag and look at all the beautiful colors. Wait, what? Where are they? Where are my markers? Any marker hidden in the corner? No? What? What's going on? Now I remember. I have them stored in the marker holder. What a relief! Whew. Anyway, look at all the beautiful colors. My set here is Honolulu B series, which have a brush and bullet tip. I prefer this combination because the brush tip is really helpful when it comes to large areas and all sorts of coloring, even the small areas. However, for small areas, it is perfect having the bullet tip. It's very precise and the ink doesn't spread around much unless you would stay too long on one spot. In fact, I've had this set for almost 2 years now and almost all of them are still working. Well, the truth is that I don't use them on a daily basis, not even on a weekly basis. Maybe like on a monthly basis. Yeah. There is also Honolulu A series that has brush and chisel tips. The colors in these two types are the same. It's just about the tip, and that's why I bought colors that I was running out of as an open stock when the A series started to be available here. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any open stocks from Honolulu B series. And here are all the colors I bought. As you may notice, the order I have my markers sorted is really chaotic. So I decided to organize them and make a swatch of every marker I have. Well, I already have such a swatch chart. I created one by myself and you can get it from my coffee shop or my Patreon. But this swatch chart I made is more suitable for creating small cards with the color and color names. But now I want to have all colors on one page. Or, well, on 2 pages because it's really a lot and they couldn't fit on one page. Unless I would have a free page. Yeah, but I don't. Alright, first of all, let's collect all the markers. And you can see I am collecting them now already. Actually, this was quite fun, just throwing them on one big pile. And these are the empty trays. By the way, the trays are from brand Spectrum Noir, and I will put a product link into the description box if you are interested. Look at all these markers lying on a battlefield. Yeah, let's play with the markers a little bit. Unfortunately, my table was too small for such an amount of markers, so some of them fell down on the floor. But don't worry, they all survived in a good health. No marker was harmed. And yeah, this was quite satisfying. Alright. For the swatch chart, I decided to use the book by OHUHU, which has paper specifically made for alcohol markers. You can use colored pencils as well if you like, it's not a problem. But I will talk about this book later. I did a swatch chart in advance before filming this video, which took me like forever. Anyway, I was using an ordering system by Monatot, who is providing the downloadable version for free, and I really like how the colors just look ordered by her system. I will put a link to her website to the description box as well. And funny thing, somehow I didn't realize that we start with violet blue colors. Maybe because the first color is starting with the letter R, which stands for red, and I started to search in the pile of unorganized markers, red and pink shades. I can tell you, it was never ending. It took me a long time before I decided that I will probably have to be more organized. Now I'm still searching and searching and searching. Finally, I ran out of patience and took the original box and put all the markers inside in the color order. I have to say that I like having my markers in this box. It looks really nice. So, I continued searching, and because now I had all pink, red, purple and violet colors all together, it was so easy to find the right marker. Once I organized all the markers and found the first color, it was easy to find the others. Then it went quite smoothly. Anyway, try to swatch more than 200 markers. Yeah, I had to take a break in the middle. Also, I didn't have the patience to stay within the fields. That task was just beyond the possible. And while I will be swatching all the colors, let me know in the comments your experience with OHUHU markers. all the markers in the right order. They are just so beautiful. But how beautiful are they in real practice, right? Well, I cannot compare them to, for example, Copics, because I just don't have any. But I can compare them to RTX markers and to the unknown cheap brand from AliExpress. But I will talk about it a little bit later. I would like to talk now about papers and how I use the markers. I am having times when I use alcohol markers a lot and then I don't use them at all for some time. It usually depends on what I color at the time. For the record, no matter what paper do you use, alcohol markers, and now I mean any brand, will always bleed through. That's just how they are. So let's be clear. From my experience, the best use in coloring books is to use them for a base layer. It will give you a nice and solid base on which you can build up your pencils very easily without any additional effort. I also recommend using the lightest shade of the color you want to do the picture with, because that way you can add just shading with middle and dark shades with your pencils and leave the lightest area colored just with a marker. But of course, you can use the light colored pencils as well. It's really up to you. And for basing are the best pastel tones. You can also use a different color as a base. For example, if you want the picture to have a warm tone, you can make the underpaint with some warm yellow or orange markers. With this method, it's similar like if you would color on toned paper. Now, I don't recommend using a thick cardboard or cheap watercolor paper. Basically because this paper will soak up an excessive amount of the ink and spread it all over the place, all over the paper. And also you will run out the marker very soon. However, I tried alcohol markers on balhong paper in combination with watercolors and it worked quite nicely. If you would like to see how I did it and what was the result, I have the video for you on my channel, which should pop on the top of the screen right now, hopefully. There is also marker paper that claims that it's bleed proof. I tried one. It really didn't allow the ink to bleed on the other side. But these papers are quite transparent, even if they have like milky tone, they are still very transparent and they usually have only 70 GSM, which is super thin. And also the texture is very smooth and feels like parchment paper. Also, the markers leave visible strokes on this paper and leave a really not nice and glossy buildup, which is caused by the ink which has nowhere to soak in, so it stays on top. I don't know if there is anyone happy with such a paper, but for me it's a no-no. And yeah, I remember I thought that markers bleed through every paper, but if the paper is transparent, does it really matter if it bleeds or not? Because you still cannot use the other side, because you see the picture you already draw. So, I don't know. This kind of paper is kind of useless, at least for me. But as I said, maybe there is someone that is happy with such a paper, so that's good for them. But I really don't see any use for it. So let's continue. I mostly use these markers in coloring books with Amazon paper, on which they work very well. As I already mentioned, I recommend using them for basing and using color pencils on top of them. You can try to blend them, of course, even on Amazon or printer paper. Actually, that was the first technique I ever did with alcohol markers. And that was the only way I was using them. But because these papers are very thin and doesn't really support this medium, I figure out that it doesn't work the best. I mostly struggle with fast drying, and when this happens, that part of the picture is already dry, but I need to continue, for example, when I do the background or the face, then there are visible strokes, so I have to work very quickly with coloring the whole area. Also, when I was blending them on such a paper, some areas were so saturated that the ink spread it a lot to other areas where I didn't want to have this color that was spreading around. But then I tried the paper made specifically for alcohol markers, and I don't mean the bleed-proof paper, but I mean this book by OHUHU, and oh wow, that was a different show. Even though the paper is thicker, it doesn't soak in excessive amount of ink. Also, blending is a pleasure, and the best is that I don't really have to worry much about fast drying, which was really pleasant surprise. How this paper works, it's just magic. I'm not sure if they sell the single paper sheets. Anyway, the pages in the book are perforated, so if you want, you can take them out and print coloring pages on them. Also, just to make it clear, this paper is not bleed proof. It will bleed on the other side, but there is only a low chance that the ink will bleed even on the pages under the page you are drawing at. That's also why all of these books come with a plastic sheet that you can use to prevent bleeding into more pages. But being bleed proof isn't really so important, at least for me. For me, what's important is that this paper improves your marker experience and enhances the colors, blendability, and the overall work. And that's what makes this paper perfect for markers. In this demonstration, I draw the main character from the anime Spirited Away, simply because this is one of my favorite movies and characters. And yes, I realize that there is not a very large variety of colors on this picture, but despite this, I still think that you can have an idea of how bright colors these markers provide and how the final result looks like. And it really looks like it has been printed. Yeah, that's how good they are. On the other hand, I have to admit I miss some specific shades. Sometimes I would just need that one more shade to put in between lighter and darker shade, but this issue is nothing that couldn't be worked out because, yeah, these markers just blend very nicely together, even if you blend shades that are not so close to each other. Another thing is that I would welcome more red and yellow colors. I don't know exactly which colors are in the new 320 markers set, but I guess that these issues with missing colors are solved by the additional colors in the larger set. Anyway, 216 colors is still nice to have, and it really gives you a large variety of use. I mentioned before that I also have alcohol markers by ArtX and the ones from AliExpress. Starting with the AliExpress set, I have only one sentence for you. Just don't waste time and money on them. It doesn't matter which brand it is, or if it's from AliExpress or Amazon. These markers, these sets will be always the same, and they will always be under some unknown brand, and there will always be an offer like 168 markers for 50 euros or dollars. That's cool, right? No, it's really not worth it. I have a set of these markers. I thought, yeah, what's the difference? They are just alcohol markers, right? It's not like with colored pencils. But yeah, it is. You don't have to spend money for your monthly rent to buy Copics or other super expensive markers, but really don't waste your money and time on these. At least if you want to have a pleasure from using markers, and you want them to improve your coloring skills and your coloring artwork. First, they splash the ink when you are opening the cap, so you end up with color dots on your illustrations. Second are the tips, especially the brush tips are very prone to damage and are very soft, not comfortable to use. Third, the ink spreads all over the place, all over the paper. Even if you do only a small dot, really tiny little dot, the ink spreads, and from small dot you have a huge spot. Lastly, there is a difference in the final picture, and if you compare it, for example, to OHUHU's, it really looks very poor. Alright, next for grilling we have Artex markers. These are actually quite nice and decent markers. I have two sets, the skin tone set and pastel set, and I especially appreciate the soft tones in the pastel set. In comparison to OHUHU, Artex pastel tones are more subtle and really feel like pastel tones. On the other hand, of course, you cannot expect any medium or dark colors. Really surprising, right? If you want to see more about Artex pastel markers set, I have a video on my channel, so if you like, you can check it out. I also like that the pastel set has a brush tip as well next to the chisel. The brush tip seems to be quite solid and durable. Maybe a little bit harder than the brush tip in OHUHU, but very comfortable to use. The skin tone set I have has only chisel and bullet tip, which is not my favorite combination, but it was this or nothing, so yeah. Anyway, again, the skin colors are more subtle than skin colors in OHUHU set, and I really like the large variety of light and medium shades. However, I found the chisel tip a bit hard and sometimes scratchy. So, my conclusion is, don't even think about cheap unknown markers and get a nice set of OHUHUs. I didn't try the regular colors from Artex, so I cannot say if they will be better than OHUHU or not. But if you want subtle tones of skin and pastel colors, then maybe better go for Artex. However, if you want a large set of colors in which you will have everything from regular colors through pastel to skin tones, so you will have the whole package, you can never go wrong with OHUHU. I always go for the largest set, so if I would buy them now, I would probably get the set of 320 colors to really feel and get the maximum of what they offer. But there are also smaller sets like the one I have, and it was the biggest set for brush and bullet tip at the time I did the purchase. But there are also smaller sets, for example, like 120, 72 or 48 colors and so on. So there is really a lot of variations to choose from, which I think it's really great. If you have any questions about the markers, just let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, check out the playlist that just showed up on the screen. Bye bye!